Hello friends and welcome to another video lesson from DBOS Talks. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and click the bell so that you can be notified of new uploads. This will be the first of an Excel tutorial series, and as we know, Excel is a spreadsheet application and is a part of the Microsoft Office suite. To launch Excel in the normal way, we can type Excel in the Windows search field. It's already here, but you can type it and it will launch Excel like this. Okay, again, you are only seeing a fraction of my desktop because I have optimized this for those who are watching this video from a mobile device like a cell phone. Okay, so from this point, you have the option of opening, choosing from a host of templates available. But in this tutorial, we'd like to give you the skill set you need to be working from scratch from a blank workbook. So from here, you can just click on blank workbook and you're free to go. But so this is launching Excel. To start working on Excel, you can do it actually in two ways. One is from outside Excel, meaning before you even launched this, or from within Excel. Okay, so if you have already opened Excel, such as what you have done now, let's just pretend there is no Excel open, so I'll close it. If you want to create a new Excel file, you can go to the menu, File, and then Blank Workbook, or File, New. Okay, you can also do a Control-N for New. That is for starting or creating a new Excel file, also called the workbook. Once you're inside Excel, you can also open an existing Excel file. So you can go to the menu, File, Open, and then you go to the location where you want it, get it. Okay, and then you can click on that. Okay, you have the file. Okay, so I'll close this again. Now let's, the other way is, another way is if, let's just say your Excel is closed, and then you can actually create an Excel file without even opening Excel. So from any location within Windows, like in the Explorer or on the desktop, you can do a right click of your mouse here. Example, we wanted to create an Excel file in this location called C demo, the folder. You do a right click here on this white space over here. And then, okay, I'll click somewhere here. And then there's a new. You go to new and then you click on Microsoft Excel worksheet. So it will create a new Excel file for you, and you can give it a name that you want. My first example. And naturally, because you have just created it, that you can open this by either double clicking that file or just pressing the enter key on that file, and it will open that file. But of course, you know it's blank. Okay, so I'll close this. To close, File, Close. You don't see this at the bottom, but okay. Okay, so again, you can launch Excel from the Windows search field by typing Excel. Or you can also launch Excel by opening an existing Excel file just by double clicking it or pressing enter while on that file. Okay. Now let's familiarize ourselves with the Excel application itself. So let's just open a sample workbook I've already prepared for you. Okay, here it is. So we'll really go very basic on this one, assuming this is for everybody, even those who haven't seen Excel before. Okay, so terminologies are in order. Okay, let's be familiar with it. Okay, let's just Give me a second, give me a second. Where is that? Okay, first things first. When you work on Excel, you will come across and notice that there are at least two types of file extension for an Excel file. Sometimes it has an extension of XLS, like this, or sometimes, and more commonly now, you will be seeing XLSX. What's the difference? So for older versions of Excel, which is what you call Excel 97-2003, then you would see this file format. So just remember, this XLS is an extension for older versions of Excel. And for anything relatively new, starting from Excel 2007 and later versions, you would have the extension of XLSX. That's what it means, okay? Just for you to know. The next thing you got to know is for you to be familiar with the terminology, so that when you're at work, you know when somebody is calling something, mentioning a term, you know what it is. So you will hear workbook. Workbook is simply the Excel file itself. It's called a workbook. Okay, it's identified by a file name because it's a file. So it's this one. In this case, I just call it sample workbook. And because it's a relatively new version of Excel, the extension is XLSX, which we have mentioned in point number 1. Okay, so there you go. It is a workbook, a file. An Excel file is also called a workbook. Okay. Next is worksheet, or simply sheet. So a workbook can consist of one sheet. If you can look at my mouse pointer over here. So a workbook is an Excel file, but a worksheet, meaning a workbook, can consist of one or more sheets. So you can see at the bottom, the default name given is sheet 1. If I click on the plus button beside it, it will create another sheet and simply calls it sheet 2, which you can rename. Okay. So this is sheet, worksheet. So a worksheet is identified by its sheet name. In this case, you see here, sheet 1, sheet 2. That's the sheet name, which you can change. As I said, you can double click on that and you can rename that. And then a worksheet consists of columns, vertical. These are the columns. I click here, that's column, column, column. And rows, these are the rows, okay. So again, the whole file, the Excel file, is called a workbook. A workbook consists of multiple, one or more sheets. And a sheet is composed of columns and rows. Okay. So now that you know about sheet, let's talk about column. Column is identified by letter or letters. If you see here, the vertical elements, there's a heading on top. It's a letter A, meaning this is column A. So all the elements, all the objects below it belong to column A, column B, column C, and so on. I say letter or letters because if you go all the way to the right, you can see that the column name is XFD. That's because 26 letters of the alphabet, A to Z. After the Z, then it starts with something like, if I'm not mistaken, AA, and then AB, AC, AD, and so on until it gets to this. Okay, so a column is a vertical, it's the vertical element of a sheet, and it is identified by letter or letters. Okay, I will click on home and come back there. The next thing, so columns, vertical, identified by letters. Next is row. A row is identified by a number or numbers. Look at this. I will highlight. This is row 1. This is row 4. This is row 7. It's horizontal and it's identified by a number or numbers. I mean, 2-digit number. Okay. So that's your row. Next on the list is what you call a cell. So a cell is the intersection of a column and a row in a sheet. If you look at this sheet, if I want you to focus on this cell, the one on the yellow highlight, with the yellow highlight, that's a cell. It's actually at the intersection of column C and row 3. See, column C, row 3. The intersection is this cell. And a cell is identified by its cell address. You see, this yellow item I'm pointing at is at column C, row 3. So its address is here. Look at my pointer. C3, meaning it's at column C, row 3. If I click on a different, let's say I click on this one, focus on this. This is on column, this yellow cell is at column B, row 4. B4. So if I click on that, the cell address of that cell is B4. Okay. Okay. So just to refresh your memory, the Excel file is also called a workbook. And one workbook or one file may consist of one or more sheets, which can be named with, given a sheet name. Example, this one, I will call it something else. Name, something like that. So you can change it. You just double click on that and then it can rename. So a sheet, a workbook may consist of one or more sheets, and a workbook is identified by its file name, and a sheet is identified by a sheet name. And then in a sheet, it consists of columns. Columns are vertical, identified by letters, and rows, identified by numbers. And then the next thing we learned is cell. And a cell is the intersection of a column and a row. You can say is the unit, is the smallest unit in an Excel sheet, although you can go to the character level, that would be smaller. But that's a cell, and it is identified by its cell address, which is alphanumeric. So B4 means it's the cell is at column B, row 4. Okay, quite simple. Next is cell range. So you already know about cell. A cell is the intersection of a column and a row. It is identified by its cell address. This time, cell range. A cell range is a set of adjacent or adjacent cells. For instance, I can click my mouse and roll it across several cells. That's a cell range. Okay, a range of adjacent cells. Okay. Next on the list is this. We're familiar with it, but it's better to know still. So I put them together. One is the menu. The menu is at the very top here. You see file, home. These are menu items. Okay. Like that. And then we have the toolbar or ribbon. This part over here just below the menu is usually called toolbar, and these are toolbar buttons. But in Windows, They have another term for it, which is also used in Word and I believe also in PowerPoint. It's also called ribbon. But anyway, it's just a small thing. Just bear in mind, you have the menu, and below it is, you can call it toolbar or ribbon. Ribbon. Okay. So now we've learned about the basic parts, terminologies of an Excel file, so that there'll be no confusion at work, in school. When somebody tells you about a worksheet or a workbook, you will not get mixed up between the two. And also you have learned about what's the difference between XLS extension and an XLSX. Now we will practice clicking, selecting, or highlighting, and we will see what's the purpose behind it. Let's say, again, let's start with column. So columns, again, are the vertical elements, and they're represented by letters. So when you see, when I click here, I'm just clicking on a cell. And when I click on a cell, it tells you the cell address. At the upper left-hand corner of the Excel, it gives you the cell address. I'm at E3, I'm at G5, I'm at D8. But when I click on a column, although it gives you the cell address of this position over here, C1, it highlights the whole column all the way to the bottom, actually. And so that is highlighting the column. That is a very important action. Why? Because when you highlight the whole column, it's not just for the sake of doing it, but there's a purpose behind it. Example, if I wanted to highlight the whole column C with this color, then I'm able to do it because I can highlight the whole column instead of doing one by one, isn't it? So instead of doing that, I will simply highlight the whole column. If I need to, really, if I really wanted to do something for the whole column, then I will do that. Click the whole column and then do what you want to do. It could be, you cannot do everything, but certain things you can do, like say highlighting, or maybe setting everything in this column to bold. Oops, yep, see, or italics, or sorry, underscore. See, you can do it for the whole column because I've highlighted the whole column, okay? So that's the purpose of highlighting. If you can highlight also the row, you will see the effect. So same thing, if you wanted to highlight with a certain color, uniform for the whole row, you can do that here. See? Or the whole row, I wanted to also change to some different kind of font. You can do that. It works for the whole row because I'm able to select the whole row. Okay, undo. Next is, of course, you know already, you can select a single cell. Okay. Next is you can click and select multiple adjacent or adjacent cells. Example, this. Let's say all of these numbers over here, I wanted to make them bold and have this color. I'm able to do that because I'm highlighting multiple adjacent cells. Okay. Another is if you will select multiple adjacent columns, you can also do that. Example, I want A and B to be this size, 20. Okay, you can do that, undo. Or I will do for multiple adjacent rows. I want these three to be of this font color, red. See, you just put your mouse here, click your mouse on this row, and then you roll your mouse down. That's how you do it. Another way is you can select multiple adjacent cells, including, I will show you what I mean. Example, I will click A, B, columns A, B, and then I also want to select, I don't want C, I want D, E, F. What you will do, okay, for this, you click on A, and then without releasing the mouse, you roll your mouse to the right. So you have already highlighted columns A and B. But now you don't want C, you just want D, E, F on top of this. You click on you press your control key, I'm pressing control key, and then you do the same thing here. I want D, E, F. So now you've selected non-adjacent columns. And you can do what you want to do, like some kind of formatting we've done before. Bold or this kind of highlight. You see, it skipped this. How did I do it? I first selected the first two columns and then I pressed control key without releasing and then selected this. Okay. Same thing, you can do it for rows. Let's say I want row 2 and row 5 and 6. So I click on this row 2 and then press control key and then click 5 and roll my mouse to 6 and then do what I want to do with this thing. Maybe this kind of font color. Okay. And then once you are done with your changes, you can save it. You can click this diskette icon, toolbar button over here, or you can just click on File, Save, or you can just press Control S. Okay, so there you go. We have learned a couple of things. I hope it will be very useful and handy for you. It's not good to be absorbing a lot of stuff. It's good to be learning the very basics and really have that good foundation on this one. So terminologies, having that comfort level of navigating around an Excel file, knowing what name to call something, what is workbook, what is worksheet. Okay, so there you go. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and see you in the next video.